folks probably wouldn't expect a 92-year-old woman to suddenly begin this fantastic new life as a kind of rebellious witch. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee. Happy New Year. Wishing you a much better year. All dressed up with no place to go. C'est la vie. Maybe I'll go to the grocery. I'm wearing sweatpants after all. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. These things are awesome. They are light, sleek, industrial, doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge in your back pocket, and it has seriously changed my whole pocket situation and freed up some much needed space. It's designed to easily fit into your front pocket. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. Makes an excellent late Christmas gift. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. This one right here is my go-to, which is the matte black titanium. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident that you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. If this wasn't enough to win you over yet, check out that 30,000 5-star reviews. They're just slightly larger than your credit card, and yet they're so strong and sturdy. Really awesome minimalist design. This thing is holding up great. You're literally never going to need another wallet. It's the last one you'll need to buy. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thank you so much. Today is The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington. Sent to me by NYRB Books. I'm partially sponsored by them. They send me free books from time to time. I love them. They're awesome. Thank you very much, NYRB. To make a pop culture analogy, this is like Wes Anderson combined with Frida Kahlo. Boonwell was a fan. Makes absolute sense. He has a blurb on the back of the book. This is a magical realist novel published in 1976 by the British-Mexican surrealist painter Leonora Carrington. It's quite a mouthful. It has been called the occult twin to Alice in Wonderland. It's a pretty accurate title. Our protagonist is a 92-year-old woman named Marion Leatherby. She's nearly deaf and is given a hearing trumpet as a gift. Kind of resembles a bull's horn. It's an antiquated hearing aid. Search hearing trumpet on Google. It's got some pretty interesting designs. And it allows her to secretly overhear conversations. And because of this, she realizes that her family, composed of her browbeaten son Galahad and his repulsive wife Muriel, and her callous and extremely rude motorcycle-riding grandson Robert, is planning on sending her to an institution, to a home. Except this place that they're sending her happens to look like a giant castle, or like an abbey. So yeah, Downton Abbey for sure, like, you know, picture Maggie Smith with that coolness and wry wit. Dry British wit plus Mexican surrealism. Voila, Leonora Carrington. So she goes to this place and it's kind of run by a couple called the Gambits, and it's sort of like this self-help religious cult thing where it's all based around kind of this condescending style of self-improvement and this really kind of petty belittling. Yet there seems to be some secret mystery to the castle. Inside this institution, she meets a group of other charming, eccentric, witty elderly women, imprisoned, as it were, really, as the place is sort of run like a bizarre convent. So yeah, in the dining hall, there's a large portrait of a winking nun. Marion discovers the strange and occasionally sordid past of this abbess in the middle of the book. Marion is eventually given she's given a secret book. That's a whole different, strange subplot involving the Knights Templar and the Holy Grail and all sorts of interesting magic witchcraft. There's also a murder by poisoning plot that results in the group of ladies joining together in resistance and engaging in a successful hunger strike against the Abbey. I love how the protagonist is somebody who would often be underestimated by society. The humor in this thing is top-notch. So Galahad brings her a bottle of port before they throw her in the institution as kind of a gift. She's suspicious why he's doing this sort of thing, because it's out of character for him. So he's trying to sweeten her up before they send her off to the institution, and she's immediately suspicious. So this is a line from that part which I thought was just perfect. A great deal of my life has been spent in waiting, most of it quite fruitless. Recently, I do not go in for much coherent thought. However, on that occasion, I actually made a plan of action. I wanted to find out the motives for Galahad's unwanted kindness. Not that he lacks ordinary human sentiment, simply that he considers kindness to inanimate creatures a waste of time. He may be right, but on the other hand, the maguey cactus seems alive to me, so I feel I can also make claims on existence. This kind of super sharp, dry, self-deprecating humor is magnificent. I mean, we need more of that. Immediately it reminded me of Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. The mystery and the riddles and so on. Totally has that vibe. Definitely elements of the occult mystery in the Gothic novel, but with Carrington's unique surrealist spin, right? What results is a strange tale involving not only the circle of old women who are residents at this place, but also the story of this strange occult abbess, the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail, the resurrection of deities, and the shifting of the poles, resulting in a new Ice Age / apocalypse. Yeah. Funny enough, I don't know if she ever mentions anything about Galahad, Muriel, and Robert after everybody has been wiped out by the new Ice Age. I think they're just like totally written off and forgotten, which is funny. I don't know. Like that goes nowhere. Like we never hear from them again. Really quick, if you're enjoying this review, if you could hit the thumbs up, I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps the algorithm get this video to people who would love this book. So thank you. Her use of an unexpected protagonist that is often underestimated by society and defies convention was my favorite part of the book, by far. Coupled with the humor, which is just like, in the first part at least, just top notch. Folks probably wouldn't expect a 92-year-old woman to suddenly begin this fantastic new life as a kind of rebellious witch. Kind of impressive amateur historian and sleuth simultaneously. Leonora Carrington was a British-Mexican painter. According to Wikipedia, she was actually one of the last participants in the official Surrealist movement from the 30s. This is her painting on the cover of this edition, and her illustrations can also be found in here. They're pretty cool. Check it out. This one is of the castle. Look at that. Reminds me a little bit of Edward Gorey. So as her life story goes, she was studying painting. She started seeing the painter Max Ernst. World War II happens. He's arrested by the Gestapo, but then with the help of Peggy Guggenheim, whom he later marries for a short marriage, escapes to America. He leaves Carrington behind. She goes to Spain, has a mental breakdown, and is put in an institution. There, her family decides they're going to place her in an asylum in South Africa. And so on the way to South Africa, they stop in Portugal, and she escapes. And she goes to the Mexican consulate to contact a poet and Mexican ambassador named Renata Leduc, a friend of Picasso's. Apparently they knew each other through attending bullfights. And Picasso may have been a mutual friend or acquaintance. But he agrees to marry her for like a marriage of convenience in order for her to escape to Mexico. And eventually she did. So obviously, an incredible life story. Apparently all of this actually happened. So I assume a lot of this informs The Hearing Trumpet. So let's start with the good, because there's plenty of it in The Hearing Trumpet. Parts of it are extremely funny. Totally deadpan and dry. Really, really my style of humor. Very clever. The kind of nonchalance of this woman when confronted with something absurd or horrifying or dramatic or catastrophic is great, right? It's really refreshing. There's a lot of play going on with expectations in the book in many, many ways. I mean, Carrington is playing with expectations in like every single way. And with the humor, I feel it's very, very successful. And I think the idea of a new, exciting life at this age, filled with this joyful, pagan, occult spirituality, witchcraft, adventure, self-discovery, literally in one case, excitement and triumph, in spite of all the forces outside and time and age itself seeking to oppress you, is terrific. It's great. It's a very strong beginning with fantastic humor and a unique protagonist. Like the Paris Review said, The Hearing Trumpet is a genuinely strange work of fiction. It's also charming, due in no small part to Marion's unflappability and matter-of-fact narration. The characters undergo mysterious transformations, encounter figures out of mythology, and converse with aspects of the natural world, but the tone remains unflappable. Nonchalance in the face of the weird is a hallmark of Carrington's fiction. And judging from her real life, it's totally, I feel it's absolutely plausible to assume that's kind of the modus operandi she built being confronted with so many horrible, traumatic things in life. I mean, that era of World War II, having to go from place to place like that, I mean, being separated from people and breaking down mentally more than once, I believe. Yeah, I mean, developing a kind of a thick skin in the form of this unflappability, as the Paris Review puts it, seems not only smart, but crucial. We need more of this kind of literature, that kind of literature. It's not a resignation to despair, and it's not a forgery of optimism. It's a clarity that allows for finding humor and substance in the midst of catastrophe. We don't need writing wherein the heart of gold characters hope and pray and succeed. No. We need literature that confronts the worst and remains charming in spite of it. Extremely Wes Anderson. This is very much for those who enjoy that kind of tragicomic, dry humor. Carrington is a master at it. I'm quite sure this will be optioned and adapted with Tilda Swinton in the starring role. Mark my words. So better than Food, for sure. But what did I dislike? Way too much going on. When you just keep laying absurd premise on absurd premise, the surprise really goes out the door. And surprise was one of the things that made the book charming in the beginning. And when you have that by the ending, when you have just like, it's the same thing with The Stand, which I just tore apart. Now, this, I would much prefer you read this instead of The Stand. But, I mean, when you... I have this surrealism, magical realism, whatever, fatigue. Because at some point you kind of got it, and that's it. And it's kind of a one-trick pony. Playing with expectations is one thing, but it's only playing with expectations when you're used to a certain kind of conservative literature. When all you're reading is like magical realism, or if you're reading even several magical realist books, one after the other, or if you sort of just know that world already, I mean, the surprise is kind of missing. At this point, I'm a little bored with the genre. The story doesn't work, really. Even with the excellent humor, it's just a mess. I have to admit, it is. But if you like this kind of mess, which seems like an intentional mess. In fact, I'd say if you were in your late teens, early 20s, and you haven't really had much experience reading magical realist authors, this is a great place to start. I should have read this about a decade ago. I think I would have loved it a lot more. If you like The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter, The Master and the Margarita by Bulgakov, yeah. If you like Marquez, if you like Rulfo, if you like Cortázar, if you like Borges, that's... Yeah. But for me, when you write a book that has this much fantastical action, when you're just like constantly flipping all these switches that people aren't expecting, and you're kind of just you're not even playing with convention, you're just sort of like doing away with it altogether. And I think that Olga Tokarczuk, who wrote the afterword in this book, said something like she's like inventing her own laws. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but at some point it's like I can't take it seriously anymore. Or what was compelling initially in the microcosm, which was this old woman's experience in this kind of strange new predicament she finds herself in, is really overshadowed by spectacle. And just kind of like the bizarreness of all of it, and the surrealism, and Dali, right, or whatever. And like, I'm just not freaked out. Within so much rule breaking and distancing from structure, you lose meaning and effect. There's no contrast. So the emphasis is kind of like cranked over, like focuses way more on the magical by the end than on the realism. And the realism was what made the magical potent, or compelling. By the time the Ice Age comes in and the werewolf and all this stuff, it's just like, well... Keeping that realism in the mix is very, very important, I feel, for a story to work fully. Because then, if the audience is buying it, you're able to weave a fascinating kind of suspension of disbelief. But you wouldn't read this for realism. It's me. It's just me. It's not Carrington. Carrington's very good at what she does. Me personally, I have just got surrealist fatigue. I'm much more interested in learning about real life at the moment. That's just me. I don't know. What do you think? The increasingly outlandish, the more I lose interest. Because the more it moves away from anything relatable. And Marion's experience was the interesting, relatable thing. But you certainly may feel differently, especially if you do not have surrealist fatigue. If you are really interested in surrealism or magical realism, I think this is like the apex, the definition, the defining novel. It certainly has its moments, and I highly recommend picking up a copy and at least trying it. So better than Food? I was kind of wavering back and forth, but yeah, I think so, because of the unusual protagonist and the humor. I think any book that actually genuinely makes me laugh out loud is probably better than Food. I thought just having this 92-year-old woman as a protagonist, and a really sharp and compelling one, was kind of more radical or original than anything else in the whole story. So I thought that was great. I'm starting to get to the point where I really judge things in as a collection of components. But I still do appreciate things where at least one of those components are so unique and original that it is worth exploring. I think there's a lot of films that we would probably consider bad films or just not that great, but there are scenes or lines or performances in there that are just unforgettable. And you know, so I look at it kind of like that. It's not perfect by any means, but it is worth your time. So, who should read it? If you enjoyed Angela Carter's The Bloody Chamber, which I personally prefer actually to this one, or Alice in Wonderland, or some of the stories by Marquez such as A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings, definitely pick it up. Cool. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, I take all of the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show, and I place their names in this mason jar, and I pull out a name for every review I do, and whoever's name I pull out, I send them a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, roasted by yours truly, usually, but lately by one of the wonderful roasters here in Portland, Oregon, because the coffee is delicious, and it's good to help support small business, because businesses here in Portland, Oregon are dying, dead. It's very, very sad right now, and I'm sure for many of you as well in cities. If you would like to help support the show, I very much appreciate it. Thank you. You can click on the link below or go to patreon.com/books-are-better-than-food and donate $5 or more per video. If you donate $1 or more on Patreon, you'll get access to the patron-only reviews. I just posted a patron-only review of Chuck Palahniuk's Consider This. It's a fantastic source for fiction writers, especially modern minimalism. If you're like trying to kind of like write in the vein of Palahniuk or Hemingway or Bret Easton Ellis or William Gibson, I think you would definitely benefit from that book. The Discord channel, which is awesome, and the Better Than Friday newsletter that I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, films, articles, changes week to week. If you feel we have similar taste, I think you will really enjoy both the Discord and the newsletter. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and best of luck to all the patrons. Okay, here we go. Adrian H. Thank you so much, Adrian. Really appreciate it. You're going to receive The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington, plus a bag of delicious coffee. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year. Please always remember to bring a book wherever you go. Take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Happy New Year. Talk to you soon.